morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Chris Murray Report on WURD Radio. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an action-packed show today and got a lot to talk about in terms of the world of sports. As you know, this week there was a big fallout at ESPN when it came down to Maria Taylor and Rachel Nichols. A tape was basically released saying that Rachel Nichols was talking about the fact that she had that she didn't want to see the ESPN's crappy record, so-called, at diversity impact her. It was a situation where it basically exposed, the problems of ESPN, diversity in sports media, something that I care passionately about. And we're going to have A. Sherrod Blakely, longtime beat writer for the Boston Celtics and the Bleacher Report, but he's also the head of the National Association of Black Journalists Sports Task Force, and he's going to talk to us today, probably the next, maybe the next 5 minutes or so, talk about the situation at ESPN. He wrote a brilliant article in ebony.com talking about the situation. And by the way, the young girl who exposed that video of Rachel Nichols talking about that situation was subsequently let go, or she left the company. She was suspended for 2 weeks. And so we're going to be talking about diversity issues in sports media for the first part of the show today. And then we are going to we're going to talk a little local sports, a little local baseball. We're going to talk about the Phillies at the halfway at the halfway point of the season. And we're going to be talking about what they have to do. They lost last night to the Boston Red Sox, and it was just one of those things where the Red Sox are a better team than the Phillies. Phillies are hitting better. They took 3 out of 4 against a struggling Chicago Cubs team. So we'll be talking about that with Jack McCaffrey of the Delaware County Daily Times. We're also going to be talking about the upcoming Olympics with respect to Black Girl Magic. 4 years ago, or 5 years ago, at the Summer Games in Rio de Janeiro, Black women throughout the diaspora dominated the Olympics. I mean, they won gold in track and field events in particular. They won gold medals in all but 3 events, and they all came from the diaspora. They all came from either Africa, the Caribbean islands, or the United States. This year, there seems to be some issues with Black Girl Magic, especially with Sha'Carri Richardson being kept off the Olympic team, and a couple of other athletes. Caster Semenya has been kept out of the Olympics because of a situation with with testosterone. They say she produces too much natural testosterone, and she was born a woman, and so some women have that problem. Also, a couple of runners from Namibia were also kept out. And I don't know if you saw my article in the Philadelphia Sunday Sun this week regarding the whole track thing. I wrote a column, kind of a long column about it, talking about the testing regimes in the Olympics. In that, a lot of people, and I said this last week, a lot of people, especially on social media, kind of came down on Sha'Carri Richardson, even though I think she smoked marijuana because she was dealing with a very traumatic situation in her life. And, my further investigation of the rules, and this is something that, this was in my story in the Sun yesterday. And one of the things that they said that that Sha'Carri Richardson was kept off of the Olympic team. This is the official reason because, and this is according to the World Doping Agency. The World Doping Agency says that that THC is a substance of abuse because it's frequently used in society outside the context of sports. Now, what I wrote was, well, isn't alcohol used in society outside the context of sport and abused outside the context of sport. So Sha'Carri Richardson had, come out and to deal with the grief of her mother dying, had Sha'Carri Richardson basically said, okay, well, I'm going to go drink a pint of Hennessy or some Uncle Nearest or some Jack Daniels and whatnot, she'd probably be still on the team. And, and I think that whole thing is just, it's just unfair. It is just, it's not fair. And as far as I'm concerned, and then to defend for her after on July 27th, 4 days after the Olympics will have started, she was kept off by USA Track and Field of the 4x100 team. And, I think that whole situation is grossly unfair. And it's grossly unfair in the sense that, it's grossly unfair in the sense that, it's, the rule of marijuana should be taken off. I mean, marijuana, I put it this way. I would say, two shots of Jack Daniels straight or a few shots of Jack Daniels straight is far more potent than anything that marijuana could do. And I think that it's legalized throughout the world, legalized in at least 18 states, and all the sports leagues are not going to punish anybody or suspend anybody because of marijuana usage. So from that perspective, it's an outdated rule. And how they test things, I mean, with respect to the African runners, when it comes down to natural testosterone, the World Doping Agency and all these other governing bodies of track and field have really screwed that situation up. So we'll be talking about that with Kelsey Nicole Nelson at about 12 noon, and then we're about to start our conversation with A. Sherrod Blakely, and we want to get that going. So Jordan, let's bring in A. Sherrod Blakely to talk about the situation at ESPN. I gotta say, Sherrod, that the article you wrote was really on point, and that situation really exposed not only a diversity situation at ESPN. Would you say that it's also reflective of what's going on in terms of sports media these days?
Well, I think when you talk about sports media and the landscape right now, I think there's so many layers of problems that exist, whether you're talking racial issues, gender issues, inclusivity issues. The list goes on and on about the various problems. But to me, what's happening over at ESPN is an example of what happens when a problem is identified and you don't address it sooner rather than later. This was something that began a year ago. And for the amount of time to have passed and there not be any tangible steps taken to address it, that's part of a much larger problem. But for me, and I think for a lot of people, when it resurfaced, a couple weeks ago that, this conversation, the thing that bothered me, and certainly it bothered a lot of people of color and folks in marginalized groups, was the implication that Maria Taylor's success and the fact that she was in the position that she was in had something to do more with her being black, as opposed to the long and lengthy resume that she had put together that showed that she was more than qualified to have that opportunity. And I know that there was a contractual issue there with Rachel Nichols. She did mention that it was in her contract, and that raises another question. Maria Taylor had been doing the NBA Countdown all year. Why would she not continue to do that when the NBA Finals rolled around? So, again, there's a lot of issues and layers to this, but ultimately the responsibility for what went down is at the feet of ESPN.
Yeah, it almost seems like in this industry, and like I say, you address these issues. You're the head of the National Association of Black Journalists Sports Task Force, and it's an issue that we always talk about. It almost seems as if it's like there's the pie, and 90% of it seems to go to white male journalists and everything. They seem to get all, regardless of whatever merit or non-merit that they get, and then the rest of us are kind of scrambling around for what's left and whatnot. Do you think it's also that case too? It's almost like, okay, we're gonna try to create a situation where there's a perception that diversity comes at the expense of someone else, of different marginalized groups.
Yes, I mean there's no doubt that is something that you see happen more and more, where there's a sliver of pie and they've got a bunch of people from groups of marginalized groups and people of color battling for that little slice of the pie, whereas the bulk of the pie, white men are able to kind of navigate without any type of pitting one against the other, and that's, Rachel Nichols in her comments, and again, most of what she said, I think she was spot on. And one of the comments that she made was about that very point, about how, that basically you have two women who are being pitted against each other as if there's not room for more than one. And again, that is something that is an issue for black people. It is an issue for women. And it's an issue that, large corporate entities like ESPN, they've got to address that at some point. And the smart move would to address it before it becomes problematic. But right now, obviously, that's just not the case. It's a very big deal. How they're going to handle this and pivot out of this situation remains to be seen.
Is this also reflective of the industry in general? I cover the Phillies, and I cover the Phillies on most of their home games. I'll do 10,000 other things, but one of the things I still notice is that in the press boxes, I'm the only black guy there. And I'm just wondering how much is this also reflective of the larger institution of sports journalism, is that this struggle to still, it seems like we've been talking about this at the beginning of your career, my career, it's still an issue. And so I was wondering if this situation is still reflective of how this industry still is moving at snail's pace for diversity.
Well, here's the thing about diversity, and again, when you look at the issue with Maria Taylor and Rachel Nichols, the one thing that is really kind of been very it's been on my mind a lot is just the distinction between public allyship and private allyship. When you are an ally in public, it can't be a public allyship for convenience without conviction.
Right.
And that's what we're seeing a lot of. You're seeing people, because right now it's just politically correct and corporately correct to be for diversity and inclusivity. But if that's how you're being publicly, but you have a different feel privately, at some point that private side is going to come to the light. It's going to shine. And we're seeing more and more of that in the fact that we're in this moment where diversity is something that a lot of people are talking about publicly, but privately they clearly feel differently, because it's not that difficult to diversify your staff. When you have an opening, you can be intentionally, effort-wise, looking for people of color. And the issue, and we have been looking at this much more closely lately. The issue isn't whether there are people of color out there who can do the job. It's whether you want to give them the opportunity to do the job. And that was, kind of getting back to the Maria Taylor situation. That was one of my biggest issues with what was said. My issue was this. Maria Taylor's resume is impeccable when you talk about the things that she has done. She deserved every single opportunity to be the host in that role. And for me, that was one issue. My other issue was that the very system that Rachel Nichols had issues with was the very system that elevated her to the position that she was in. Because before she had that position, there was another person in that position who she, replaced. And that person had plenty of quality credentials, but that didn't stop her from filling that void. In fact, if it were such a problem, I don't understand what's the difference between it being a problem now but not a problem then, other than the fact that back then it was to your benefit, now not so much.
Wow. And see that, yeah, you're right about that. I mean, it's and I look at Maria Taylor's career, man. She's brilliant. She's had to do college sports. She's done the NBA. She's done everything and correct me if I'm wrong, I think she's done some NFL stuff as well. So this is a
NFL,
person.
college, yeah, NFL, men's college basketball, women's college basketball, volleyball. She's pretty much every sport of significance that she's done.
Yeah. And and the thing is, I like what you said when black excellence becomes too excellent. I mean, I look at, every year I come to NABJ and I see some of the most brilliant, and there's a lot of black women, by the way, are really, really doing well, coming up. And like I say again, I like the fact that people like Maria Taylor, yourself, myself, we want young people. I have my producer with me. We want these young people to replace us one day. Right. We got it, and I think that we, have to give them a hand up. So I was wondering if you can talk about the importance of trying to give a lot of get those opportunities, because I think what a lot of young people need is opportunity.
They do, and that really, to me, is the distinction between journalists of color who kind of navigate their way through the system and those those journalists who aren't black, who aren't black, Latina, who aren't, from again, one of the more marginalized groups out there. They understand that their success came on the backs of others, and their role is to pass that along to the next generation. I have a podcast, for example, and when I was approached about doing a podcast, I said that I have basically two stipulations. I want to have a black female co-host, which I have, and I want to have my choice of who will be the producer, and it's a black male. And, conversely with that's my team. But for me, diversity is not just a color thing or a gender thing. It's also a diversity of thought. I also help in that same conversation. I also help a white male get an internship, one of my students. So my issue is this. When you are – it comes back to what I was saying earlier about allyship being public or private. If it's public for convenience without conviction, it's not going to work. Most of the people that I know and that who are serious about diversity, it is something that there's conviction about. The way they talk about diversity when all the lights are on and cameras are rolling is no different than how they talk about it among themselves and their friends and their people. And that, for me, is where a lot of white folks, I think, need to check themselves. Is your allyship a public one or a private one? Do you have a different tone, a different type of conversation when it comes to diversity when you are with a group that isn't diverse versus one that is? And if so, you need to really work on that. To me, you either get some conviction or just do away with the whole diversity notion altogether and just be that person who's not about diversity. Because I'd much rather deal with that person than someone who is sort of, kind of, but not really on my team.
Wow.
It reminds hey, Chris, and you can relate to this. It reminds me of that OJ song, "Smile in your face all the time."
You know what I'm saying? Take your place, stab the backstabbers. Absolutely. I like that. I mean, but and the reason why that's relevant. Was Kayla Johnson, the producer who actually leaked that video. ESPN suspended her for 2 weeks, and then I think, and for the story I read in Yahoo, they said that I guess she's no longer with the company. I mean, is there any concern about her? I mean, I don't know if she violated any law, but see, you talk about public and private allyship. You would think that ESPN might, try to work something out with this young lady. I mean, what happens to her?
Well, I've reached out to some folks who are close to Kayla, and she's doing okay. I mean, obviously, this is not her favorite subject or topic to talk about and dig into. And if you notice, she hasn't said anything publicly since this story, kind of got a second life, if you will. And I don't think that'll change. I think for her, she's just trying to move on with her life and keep her career progressing in the right direction. And there really isn't a whole lot of benefit for her to kind of, relitigate and just kind of reiterate all the going-ons that led to this, the sound getting out and things like that. So you're right, though. I mean, she's one of the people that I definitely worry about, which is why, I reached out to some folks who I know are familiar with her and close to her just to kind of gauge gauge the pulse and see where she's at. And from what I've been told, she's doing okay. Not obviously great, because no one can be doing great with something like this. But all things considered, though, she's in a much better place now with how things have played out and just how she's able to kind of move forward with her career. So that's the one positive, if there is a positive thing out of this.
Yeah, well, and you're right about that, but it all, like I say, the whole public ally, private, what else, what goes on? That, I mean, I don't know. To me, it seemed hypocritical for them to fire the young lady, but I don't know. But
well, I don't think she was fired. I don't believe she was fired. I believe that she left on her own volition and just got another job. But she was suspended, though.
Yeah, she was suspended, and I think, and maybe it was good for her definitely to leave that atmosphere, because and like I said, that's reflective of the problem too. So ESPN's got a lot to fix. I understand that Dorothy Tucker is going to be meeting with she's the president of the National Association of Black Journalists, so she's been requesting a meeting in that situation as well. So ESPN has a lot of work to do, but there's still a lot of work to do in terms of diversity in sports. And like I say, Sherrod, you're definitely the guy, who's leading that. You've done a good job in your leadership and all that. I just want to thank you just for being here with us today, man, and really enlightening us on what's going on in terms of diversity in sports and all that.
No, not a problem, Chris. Not a problem. I'm glad to be here. Glad to talk about it.
All right. So we got to go to break, but we definitely, like I said, we'd like to thank Sherrod Blakely for being here today. And Sherrod, we will definitely bring you back on some other sports issues as well. So like I say, thanks so much for showing up here today.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Take care, brother.
Okay, take care. You're listening to 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WURD. I'm the Chris Murray Reporter. Be right back.
Hey, WURD family, did you hear? It's official. The Colorectal Cancer Alliance just announced the new age for colon cancer screenings has been officially lowered to age 45 for everyone. If you are 45 or older, it's time to get screened. Go to WURDradio.com and click on the Go to Know banner to register for your free at-home screening test. Did you know colon cancer is largely preventable with on-time screening? And there's a 90% survival rate when caught early. African Americans are 20% more likely to get colon cancer and about 40% more likely to die from it than most other groups. So for the next 3 months, you can go to WURDradio.com and click on the Go to Know banner for your free at-home screening test. A screening navigator will contact you to ask a few questions and help you get screened. It's that simple. Again, just go to WURDradio.com, click on the Go to Know banner, and fill out the form to request your free at-home screening test. Go to Know today. Tune in Saturday at 3 p.m. for Let's Talk Safety with Fire Commissioner Adam Teal. Learn about fire prevention and emergency preparedness, and join the conversation.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Okay, we're back. Those of you who are watching on Facebook, you notice I have the space stamps. Something's wrong with I can't seem to get my other backgrounds from my computer. This is the only one that was available. But I mean,
it's fun. I like it anyway, so.
Yeah, I know, Jordan, you like it. Okay, yeah. Well, because I'm wondering if people like, you got a space jam in the background. I'm going to go see the movie just because I'm looking for an excuse to get hot buttered popcorn and peanut M&Ms, because that's what that is my drug of choice, so to speak.
Oh, yeah, I don't blame you.
Okay, we got time for a couple of calls coming. I need everybody to be a little bit brief. Say what you have to say, and because we got McCaffrey coming up at about 11:35, and we're going to be talking baseball. But all right, let's start with Maurice from North Philadelphia. Maurice, what's happening?
Hey, Chris. We'll make 3 quick points. Sha'Carri Richardson was disqualified because of her pre-trial. Once she got suspended, then that means pre-trials was out the door. She don't even have a track record now because she got suspended. Number 2, that's the same. The Olympics is what Floyd Mayweather debated with Pacquiao about taking a drug test before he fought him. He wanted Pacquiao to take the Olympic drug test. And number 3, ESPN do have diversity. See, the problem is black people don't know what diversity means and how it works. ESPN has 20 women. So when you say diversity, you looping everybody in. You looping other ethnic groups in. You looping LGBTQ in. You looping white women in. So you're pushing your stuff out because you're arguing, debating about something we don't know what it means and how it works. So we do more.
Okay. Let me explain something to you about that as someone who's a veteran in the media and who's had to deal with these issues as a reporter, okay? There's a whole lot of layers to that, okay? Most of the people who are in those positions are mostly white males. There are a few, when you see these people on TV, you don't understand there's people behind the scenes and all those places, okay? And so that's the thing that folks are trying to fight for. And not only in front of the camera, but but also in back of the camera as well. And that's been an ongoing battle, is inclusion. We're not yet. Diversity does include other groups and whatnot, but we're not. but as I was explaining to A. Sherrod Blakely, there's a 90% of that pie, 95% of that pie, and sometimes in those situations, those groups are left fighting each other, and in that situation, as opposed to demanding some sort of equity, okay? And there's always a double standard when we're trying to move up in those situations as opposed to other people. So God could, but that's the thing, and that's what we're pushing for. And there is a lot of layers to this. Trust me on that. So that's what I have to say about. That's my response to that. But I gotta get to the next caller. So let me get with Brother Joe from Germantown. Go ahead, Joe.
Hey, Brother Chris and Jordan, good show. Good interview with Brother Blakely, Chris. Good interview, man. Chris, I'm going to try to be real brief to Jack come on. First, Chris, this is the deal. When you talk, you heard a lot since Cosby got released, we heard a lot about, abuse of women and stuff. No, I want to ask you, Chris, where's these black journalists? Where's these black sports people? Where's these black congressional black caucus? And where's the National Organization for Women? They never seem to come out in defense of black women, whether it be Sandra Bland or Breonna Taylor. They always jumping on Bill Cosby or O.J. Simpson. This other. Where's the support for our sister that's being abused right now? Not physically, but verbally and stuff. And a character assassin. I'm talking about Gwen Berry. This courageous young black sister took a stand where she said, "I'm not bad-mouthing my country. She said, I'm not going to pledge allegiance to an anthem that disparages our people." And I don't blame this sister, but yet she's been verbally abused. Physically attacked. Just listen to me, brother. Attacked by the racist white senator Tom Cotton from Arkansas. The other Republicans, they call this lady, this sister, every name but the child of God because she exercised her First Amendment and stuff. But out here, nobody coming to this sister defend them. You care about the abuse of women. This is abuse, man. This sister's been viciously attacked by these people, man. I've heard the National Organization for Women say not one thing in this sister's favor. Now, I do get credit
I would agree.
AOC. Elijah Cortez, the sport conviction from New York, her and the brother down in Maryland, Brother Raskin, they sent a letter of support for Sakari Richardson asking the IOC to overturn their decision because she's been mistreated and stuff, man. But actually, she smoked marijuana because she was depressed about her mother. She's a human being, man. She made a mistake. Everybody handles grief differently and stuff like that. She shouldn't be banned from the Olympics and stuff like that. So all I'm saying, just in closing, where's the defense coming from these people for Sakari Richardson and for Gwen Berry being viciously attacked by these white racist Republican senators and Congress people is calling for this sister's head? Where's the defense for her, Chris? And I'll hang up and listen to your response, okay?
All right, thank you. Well, first of all, we're black men and black women. Last week, and I don't know if I should conclude social media or not. I always say, but I saw people on social media, black people, and a lot of times black men, and I gotta call us out on that. We don't come to the defense of sisters. We don't. And in that situation, where are the brothers? Where's the brothers on this? Because, she got hammered at least on local black Philadelphia social media here. She got hammered oh, she did this, that, and the other, and everybody, oh, she blew millions of dollars. She was dealing with, and the thing about a reporter broke the story. Reporter asked her about the death of her mother. She didn't even know it. And the lack of compassion amongst us really bothered me big time. And I'm just, oh man, don't get me started. Okay, we have Jacob from Albany, and Jordan is our guest on the line with us just yet?
Not yet. He's still waiting.
Okay, so Jacob, go ahead. Jacob from Albany, go ahead.
Peace be unto you, Brother Chris. How you doing?
Thank you.
Hey, man, look, I never got a chance because you still a newlywed, but congratulations, man. And look,
thank you.
I ain't had a chance to say that. I listen to you every week, but I don't get a chance to call in because, it'd be hot. You be hot, so it'd be moving right along. You gotta really hitch a ride on this train. But, your wife, look, talking about strong black women, man, I would pay to hear a debate between you and her about a particular thing, because I heard her on not long ago with somebody, and somebody brought that up, that, man, look, anybody that say that we don't have strong black women, right, they don't understand. I'm like Bernie Mac, they just don't understand. But look, quickly, the thing you talked about, to me, man, we're going to have to appeal to, we're watching these the world, the NBA championship, right? Now, we have to appeal to the white people who have no problem, like when the Greek, I think they called him the Greek freak, when he scored his team and they home, you see how them white people holler, and because they know this whole thing is about a team. It ain't about a color, right? It's that if you got a good team, you're going to bring home that trophy, right?
No doubt about it.
So now, the democracy, shouldn't we remember, too, that we fighting for this democracy for them, for we to be able to do this kind of stuff, right?
Absolutely. We're the biggest fighters for democracy.
Yes. Yeah, in other words, so I can appeal to them, because I'm never going to appeal to them boys who snuck in town with the covers over their face marching in the dark of the night and was chased by about 5 or 6 good people. But we ain't even talking about them. I'm talking about the ones that cheer. They have no problem paying the ticket because they know what this America is about. Do you ever think that some kind of way we're going to have to appeal to them to watch out and be careful about how they're trying to steal real democracy by holding the black vote, making it harder for black people to vote, stealing our vote, and then stealing your vote. And that's where it's all coming from. And then being able to, if you don't like the way election went, you can change it. I mean, come on, man. This is so obvious. This is right now, see what's going on. But what do you think about that? What do you speak about when you around in your white, and you say sometimes you're the only black one in the room? You know what I mean? If that ever come up, what would you tell them about how they got to wake up and fight for this democracy like we've been fighting ever since we fell Crispus Attucks? But that's my thing anyway. But let me go. I probably took too much time, but I just wanted to get that
okay.
Wrong. And again, congratulations, man, because you got a strong wife. She don't play.
Yeah, she don't.
Peace, my brother.
Well, first of all, Denise and I have a lot of great debates. We agree to disagree all the time because I'm gonna be strong, she gonna be strong, and and I like that, and I love that about her. That's one thing. But the thing about it, I would always felt that sports was always one of those things that could be the thing that brings all Americans together. I remember going to Atlanta to cover the Falcons and the Eagles, and I'm on an airport tram with this old white man and a couple of other people, and all of a sudden someone noticed that I was watching the Michigan State Notre Dame game on my phone because I'm an alum of Michigan State as well as Morgan and other places I went to, and all of a sudden the conversation, there was no racism. This guy looked like he was from, when it came to talking about football, everybody's eyes were open, like, wow, we were all excited. I was talking about the fact that, I remember those great Alabama teams, Bear Bryant, Tony Nathan, those teams that won a national championship, when I still remember the great goal line stand, Alabama against Penn State, because I don't like Penn State. But anyway, the thing about it when it comes to sports. That was always the thing, and those are the things that I think can potentially bring the country together that need to bring. But then again, we have a lot of other things going on in the world of sports as well, and so we really have. I would agree. We really have to decide at some point: do we want a democracy, or do we want a dictatorship, or do we want some situation where we just keep marginalizing groups? And I think that for white people, I think that there has to be a situation where I think they got to understand that the diversity of this nation does not negate them. We're not going to take over and put our white friends and like I say, not every white person is racist or anything like that. We're not going to put people do the things that others have done to us. It's just that hey, we all how we got here. We're still Americans. And if you want to keep it that way, then that's the route I think people can go. So that's one thing. So, all right. So we have, who else is online? Fishman from U City.
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing okay.
Is this still a sports show?
This is always a sports show.
Don't get sidetracked or twisted, please. Keep it a sports show. All right, I'd like to start out with the NBA Finals. Have you watched the first two games?
Yes, I have.
They've been fun. I like when the Greek Freak goes to the line and they count him down. That's fun. It's funny to me.
Yeah. That's fun. Yeah.
And the Suns are just putting on Showtime with those three-pointers. Mr. Sonny Hill said the Globetrotters have now came to the NBA. It's all Showtime now. And if you can't bring
I disagree with that. It's not, it takes a lot of skill to hit three-point basketball, hit three-point shots. It does take a lot of skill.
Yes. But it's Showtime now. Nobody wants to see no grind and push and pull. They want to see Showtime up and down the floor, run and gun.
Okay.
Do you agree?
Well, even that could be up and down the court. Yeah, you still have to play defense, and at some point, it could be a grind in and of itself, especially if you are trying to maintain and hold lead in those games. So it's not all fun and games as a lot.
No,
I understand,
but it's fun to watch.
It's fun to watch, yeah, but it's still strategy. It's still you got to play defense. You still got to hit those baskets too. Just saying.
Well, fans don't care about no strategy and defense. They want to have fun. That's what they pay their money for. That's what they spend a little time watching the game for. They want to see something that is fun and interesting. They're not interested in a chess match.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
I like to move on down the line. I'll start at the top. You said the Olympics are coming up. Is America sending a boxing team this year?
I think they are, but we've not talked about boxing. I've not read any stories, and I'll look into it about what kind of boxing we have. And that's a story that I wrote about maybe 10 years ago. The lack of, we don't pay attention to the sport anymore in boxing, and especially amateur boxing, because I'm sure there's a lot of great amateur boxers in our ranks, but that's where I think the sport is falling, is the fact that we don't it's either out there and we don't see it, or we just don't have a lot of people going into the sport. And that's something that I would like to pursue, because I think that one of the reasons why as a kid growing up, I watched the Olympics was for track and field, basketball, and boxing, because I want to see who's going to be the next great, pro fighter coming up out of that ranks. I still remember the 76 team and the 84 team, although I think the 76 team was slightly better. But I still remember those teams, and so I don't know what they've done with boxing. I think they put more emphasis on gymnastics and things of that nature, and I just have issues with it. So. I'm gonna do my own personal investigation to see who's out there, who the USA team has, because it hasn't been public. The sport at the amateur level doesn't get the publicity it once got. I remember USA versus Cuba, USA versus the Soviet Union in boxing, and that's where we saw a lot of those things. And so that's interesting that you bring that up.
And I would also like to mention that you haven't mentioned it, or at least I didn't hear, the performance of Devontae Davis stopping his challenger.
I thought I mentioned that that was 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I saw that fight. I mean, well, I'm going to tell you, Devontae Davis is a hell of a puncher. I mean, he knocked him down with the fight was with a body shot. The only thing that I worry about Gervonta Davis, and I'll say this to Joe Sanliquito when he comes back and all that, is that can he handle a fighter with a left jab and lateral movement with a stiff left jab and speed? That's what I want to see, and that's what I want to know. I mean, and can he be a nemesis, the way that Joe Frazier was a nemesis to Muhammad Ali? That's what I see. I want to see from my homeboy from Baltimore. He's a Baltimore boy.
And finally, I like to end with the trilogy of the heavyweights Wilder and Fury has been canceled due to COVID, and is only going to prolong the beatdown that Wilder is going to get. And did you see the press conference where he kept his headphones on and ignored questions? He ain't had nothing to say, but Tyson Fury said, I'll do all the talking because I want to sell tickets and put people's butts in the seats. Have a blessed day, Chris, and I'm always there, always there.
Thank you very much. Although, I will say one thing, though. This is a sports show, but one of the things that makes us, say, different from, say, IP and 97.5, The Fanatic, and all this, and I have utmost respect for everybody there. But we will talk about those issues, in sports that are very important. I'm still waiting on Jack to call in. He has not. So let us go to break, rather. So you're listening to 96.1 FM, 90 AM WURD. The Chris Murray Report will be right back.
Support small, black, and brown-owned businesses by joining the Diverse Procurement Collaborative, a community of business leaders committed to supplier diversity. Get engaged at chamberphl.com.
The Black Words Book Club. WURD Radio's conversation on books that explore the African American experience through social, economic, and environmental justice issues. Tune in the second Tuesday of every month on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro, 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. The Black Words book for July is White Evangelical Racism, The Politics of Morality in America by Penn's Dr. Anthea Butler. Be sure to listen live as Nick Taliaferro will hold a contest for a giveaway book bundle that consists of 4 titles from Kensington's Defina's Authors of Color's newest release. Don't miss it, Tuesday, July 13th on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. Attention for WURD members. Get your copy and receive a 20% discount when you purchase at Harriet's Bookstore or Hakeem's Bookstore. For more information on the Black Words Book Club, visit wordradio.com. The Black Words Book Club is sponsored by Defina. Defina is an imprint of Kensington Publishing Corporation, America's independent publisher, concentrating on authors of color. You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Okay, we are back. Your Philadelphia Phillies. Oh my God. I don't know what to make out of this team. Some days they look like they're going to be world beaters, and other days they have a bullpen that likes to give up runs with a starting pitcher. Like last night, they lost 11-5 to the Boston Red Sox, who just teed off on Vince Velasquez. That's another guy. And that guy can look brilliant at times, but man. So, Jack, what do you make of this team at the All-Star break? Will they be sellers, buyers? They got Didi Gregorius back and Gene Segura back in the lineup. Can this team make a run?
In that division, there's a chance. The Mets are really starting to create some separation, so it's going to be difficult. You look at the Mets; they're just a better team.
Right.
It's a great. The way you phrase the question, what are they going to do? Well, Dombrowski's a wheeler dealer. He's always been a wheeler dealer, so he's probably going to do something. Middleton does not really tolerate rebuilding, but you're talking about a team I think you and I talked before, it was kind of put together like a rotisserie team, and a lot of older guys that you could probably, have some value at the trade deadline to somebody, and you can start to rebuild the farm system. You know me, I'm not one of these let's rebuild the farm system guys, or let's trust the process guys, or let's get drafting. Usually. But if you just look at it, you have to also look at the particular situation. I mean, their minor league system is so lacking right now that if this team that they have doesn't do it, then the next team they have isn't going to do it either. So that's the decision that Middleton and Dombrowski have to make. What are you going to get for Gregorius? Nothing. What are you going to get for McCutchen? Pretty much nothing. But maybe you get a single A pitcher. Maybe you get you want to get a pitcher back in any deal. You get a lower level minor league prospect pitcher. Those guys never make it. Very rare. Every once in a while you'll get an Eflin or something like that out of that deal. But they got Eflin for Jimmy Rollins. So they got Eflin for a pretty good player. But what can they get now? Do you want to start trading valuable players? I wouldn't be opposed to listen to a deal for Hoskins or Baum or who else? One of those guys.
Brad Miller.
Eflin. Miller, you're not going to get money. I'm talking about somebody that somebody would have a decent interest in Rhys Hoskins. Somebody would probably have a decent interest in Alec Bohm. Like, in other words, they may give you some of their top prospects. Nobody's going to give you top prospect for Andrew McCutchen or Gregorius or even Segura. You're going to get a mid-level prospect. So basically, all you're doing at that point is getting rid of good players for guys who may be good, become decent players. If I'm opening up a team and rebuilding, I better get really top prospects in return, and that's the dilemma that Dombrowski's in.
Wow. For the team that's on the field now, I mean, I look at I'll start with the starting rotation. Nola is not, I mean, he had that big time where he struck out 10 batters, and he ended up losing that game, I think, or ended up getting a no decision. And there are times when he can be brilliant, and then he seems to run out of steam. I've not seen him go beyond 6 innings in a while. To me, Wheeler's the real ace of that staff. Eflin, you're going to get a decent effort. And then with Vince Velasquez, there's sometimes, man, I watch him and I'm like, man, this guy has potential to do something. And then he has 2 clunkers this week. I think it was San Diego and last night. I mean, how do you see? Can this rotation get better? I mean, is this current starting rotation as good as they're going to get right now?
If they don't change it, that's it. I mean, what you see is what you get. And I'll take Wheeler, Nola, Eflin as a 1, 2, 3. It may not be the heading to the Hall of Fame, but that's a real responsible, good 1, 2, 3. The problem is you got to come up with 4, 5. And how many managers are going to lose their job waiting for Vince Velasquez? Really, you saw him last night. He barely even competed. They gave him a lead in the first inning. They gave him a lead in the second inning. He was all over the place. No velocity, no location, no buckle down and let's compete here.
No secondary pitches either.
No secondary pitches. I see the same lack of drive from most of the relief pitchers. They come out there. You ever hear the phrase in football, a running back? They coach a running back. They say, "Don't run like you expect to be tackled." Well, I get the sense, mixing my sports here, I get the feeling that the Phillies relief pitchers come in expecting to be hit or expecting to fail. There's no bulldog there. There's no drive. There's no. You remember Mr. T and Tug McGraw and Brad Lidge and Bedrosian. These guys, he came in. It's like I'm gonna beat you. I'm gonna shut you down. I don't see any of that with the relief staff that the Phillies have pieced together. And we'll bring the conversation full circle. That's probably why all these guys were available to begin with. Somebody else said, hey, they get some talent. Archie Bradley's got some talent, or Kinsler's got some talent. But they're going to win with these guys. They're going to win with them. They're not locked down closers mentality. Suarez is a guy. Maybe Suarez is your closer of the future. At least I like his attitude about it. Anyway, give me the ball. He said, I'll do it. So stick with Suarez. But you definitely need two more starting pitchers if you think you're going to compete. And Spencer Howard, Velasquez, or these guys, that's not the answer. It's just not. So they don't really have enough of a starting pitching staff to carry this much further. They're going to hit the All-Star break, so we're 5 games out of 500. Out of first place. So that basically translates to 10 games out of first place when the thing's over. So you're talking about a mediocre baseball team at this point. It doesn't play fundamentally sound either.
Yeah, definitely knows that. They really it's like they all like. I remember the Segura's era in the Chicago series. It's just like, come on, man. There are plays you just got to make, and I don't, there are plays on the field that you got because you have to prevent runs. But see, that's the thing. Like Girardi, from what I'm noticing, tell me if you know. It's like I think he's at his wit's end because every time he puts a guy out there, as you said. You never know. I mean, you can say that, hey, the starting pitching, if Nola loads the bases or has guys on first and second, and you take him out, okay, yeah, the runs are going to be charged, but that's why they call relief pitchers, the firemen. Somebody's got to put that fire out, and whenever the Phillies have been in that situation, they always give up the hit. A lot of times your reliever comes in, you get the guy out, you stabilize the inning, and you move forward. And is this a function? Is there anything that Girardi can say to these guys? Because every week is, well, this guy wasn't available, that guy wasn't available. And is there anything that he can do? I mean, he's supposed, as a catcher, he handled relievers. He handled Mariano Rivera and all these other guys. Is he at his wit's end? Is there anything he could do? Because you almost see the frustration in his eyes almost every week, every time he comes up to a press conference.
A couple things he can do. One thing that he could do is tell his relief pitchers, what do you mean you're not available? Get yourself available every day. How's that? At the most, you're going to pitch 40 batters. He's not available. This guy's not available. That guy's not available. I mean, and if they're not available, Joe, then manage it better so that they are available. How do you do that? One way you would do it is not to take your top pitchers out too early. He takes Wheeler, Eflin, and Nola out way too early. So then he gets these guys tired or whatever he thinks they are, so they're not available the next day. So he's always playing with a short deck. He's been a terrible manager, just awful. There's nothing that Joe Girardi has done that has impressed me at all, other than he put the bunch of left-handers in the lineup the other night, and Brad Miller hit 3 home runs. So, okay, you did a nice job that night. But, just an awful manager. It was one of the worst I've ever seen.
Wow. No, and people are starting to say it. I listen to what folks are saying, and, it's just every night, that they give up a lead or they can't hold anybody. And somehow, at some point, that's going to fall back on the manager. So I look at Dombrowski. Is he in a situation? It seems like when he came here, he has to kind of reverse a very dysfunctional situation in terms of them finding talent and whatnot. What must he do moving forward if this is not the year and looked at as kind of looking like Phillies aren't going to be there? What does he have to do, or what can he do to kind of, does he blow it up? Does he, maybe make some key trades or try to pull a Jimmy Johnson against the Minnesota Vikings years ago and try to get some draft picks or some prospects. What does he do about all this?
It's a great question, and what we see is that he's really seen the effects of the Clentac McPhail failure, if I can use a pun there. I mean, that was just a horrible chapter in Phillies history. They trusted an entry-level general manager who had no idea about talent, none, couldn't judge a baseball player if you put him in front. Yeah, he just brutal. So now you see what you got. This is what you got with those two guys. So as you said, the question is, what can Dombrowski do? I hope this doesn't sound too fundamental, but he can be Dombrowski. In other words, there's nothing specific that he's got to do, but he's got to do what he's done at several stops along his career, which he's probably going to wind up in the Hall of Fame because of his ability to identify talent and to build a baseball team. And he's only been here, what, 6 months? It says,
right.
You know what? I could be wrong. It could be longer. It could be like 9 or 10 months he's been here now. It's about time for him to get off his rear end and get some things done. But it's this is the time to do it, the All-Star break and the trade deadline. And we're going to find out what Dave Dombrowski's – you're going to start to get some hints of which way he's going to go here. But he's, as you know, his reputation is not one of a guy that's going to sit around. He's going to Dave Dombrowski is a dealer. He is not going to sit around and put up with this. So he hasn't been here long enough. I'm give him a chance. I hope it's not too simplified an answer. But the answer is be Dave Dombrowski. Go ahead. We hired you to do this job. Go ahead and do it. And basically, the warm-up layup lines are over. Now you're having time for the jump ball. Get out there and compete. So Dombrowski's got to get out there, and now he's got to do his thing. It's time for him to do his thing, if you will.
Jack, thank you so much, man. You said it all, and I agree with you because people want to, like I say, people want to see winners in this town. People didn't get enough of the other big run that the Phillies had that we all were a part of. So thank you as always for being here today, man. And look forward to seeing you back in the ballpark in the second half, man. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be in the ballpark. I'm gonna be covering the team.
It'll make
second
a run,
half.
who knows?
Yeah, you never know.
Sounds good, Chris. Bye.
All right, thank you very much, Jack. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to 96.1 FM, 900 AM WURD, the Chris Murray Report. We'll be right back.
Get in and get seen at the Einstein Orthopedics Fracture Care Clinic. If you think you've broken a bone or have been told by your doctor that you have a fracture, the Einstein Fracture Care Clinic offers same-day, in-person, or telehealth appointments. We don't just give you peace of mind. Einstein Orthopedics provides answers when you need them. Visit einstein.edu/fracturecare to learn more.
Tune in Sunday at 1 p.m. for more legal issues with Tony. Legal expert Tony Moore will be taking calls and discussing how to strategize and plan wisely, legally. More legal issues with Tony, Sunday at 1 p.m.
Morning, Mama. How you feeling?
Great, and I'm ready for you today.
I'm checking in on ya. Morning meditation?
Check.
Dressed and ready to work out?
Check.
Check your blood pressure yet?
And check.
Boom! Great job, Mom. And about those gold earrings?
No, ma'am.
Now more than ever, it's important that we protect our hearts and the hearts of those we love. Monitor your blood pressure daily and help each other stay motivated. Rally your squad to take the online pledge at releasethepressure.org. Brought to you by the Release the Pressure Coalition and the Ad Council.
Lifting every voice till earth and heaven ring. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media. You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Okay, we are back. Before we bring in my good friend Kelsey Nicole Nelson, talk about black women in the Olympics this year and talk about what's going on, the controversy, especially with Sha'Carri Richardson. I got to bring in Maurice from Southwest Philadelphia. Maurice, you've been patiently waiting for us. Maurice, what's happening, brother?
It's always worth the wait. I am Chris Murray. I'm letting them people know that right now. But listen, let me tell you.
Thank you.
I consider what's going on here in Philadelphia and what's going on with the Corey Richardson similar. We don't hold people accountable for what they do. We make up all these excuses. It's the white man or the white people against them. It's written clearly in the rules. It doesn't have to do with enhancement or nothing. You can't use marijuana. It's on the list. Until it goes off the list, you can't use the drug. I don't care what your problem is. It's part of, and we all know Olympic rules is one of the worst rules out there. They stick to it. Why would you take that chance? Second of all, everybody.
Well, she was under duress, though. She was under emotional.
No. Duress.
But it is a situation, and it goes back to something in our community that somehow this really is a function of us old head guys. Is that we don't take mental health issues very seriously.
Here we go.
It's not, but that's real. I mean, you just had Naomi Osaka on the cover of Time magazine talking about this thing, and see that, and that's my problem. I mean, I have that issue with the community on that. Mental health is probably some of the reasons why folks are shooting each other up in West Philly and North Philly and all over the city. So we always ignore that. And I'm not saying, she knew the rules, but I think when you hear the death of a loved one, man, you don't know how you're going to react. You know, and like I said, has she taken Hennessy? Has she been drinking some Hennessy and some Jack Daniels? Okay, the hypocrisy of it is lots of athletes drink and all this other stuff. The alcohol, when it came down to, substances used in society, that's on the list. That is on the list. So the rules have to be changed. I understand rules are rules. Don't get it twisted. But I think that there's some special consideration, considering the circumstances and considering that, hey, she didn't deny it. She cooperated, okay? I just think at the end of the day, there's some rules. Yeah, rules are rules when Rosa Parks sat in the front of the bus, or the woman who sat on there before her, and the rule, it was a young woman who was, a single mom. I can't think of her name off the top of my head. But rules are rules, and I'm sure we said that to each other back before there were movements to solve it. So you know what I'm saying? So that's how I feel about it.
But Chris, what I'm saying is, it's bigger than that. This woman has destroyed her. She probably done lost millions of dollars for this. You understand what I'm saying? She was at the top.
I understand exactly what you're saying.
She was at the top. The only way she could do is fold down, and that's what she did. Then she wants to knock another. Then the Olympic Committee wanted to knock another woman's dreams out because, hey, well, we can't use her in this, but we'll put her on the track team. Somebody else that thought they was going to run in the track team, now they had a chance of losing their spot because somebody else messed up. You understand?
Well,
it's a double fold there. How about you was on the team, and because somebody else messed up, now you kicked off the track team because they said, well, she's fast. We could use her in this, and now your Olympic dream is over.
Yeah, but see, it's big. But I think this situation, and I got to get ready to move on.
Somebody else at the same time. But listen, the reason I said that was, Chris, that's just my opinion. I know everybody else has a different opinion.
That's cool.
But what I'm saying is, a lot of people keep saying here in Philadelphia, and we'll close with this, that we have a gun problem, right? But I don't believe that. I believe, why do we have a black-on-black problem? Because 98% of the people getting killed here in Philadelphia are black by other black people, women and children included. But we keep saying it's the gun, but it takes a lot to pick up a gun and shoot another person, especially when they black, and keep it moving. So let's not put the direction on the tool. Let's put the problem on what makes a person do that. Because if it wasn't a gun, it'd be a knife. It wasn't a knife, it'd be a sharp stick. I'm just tired of us deflecting all the time and saying it's somebody else's problem when it's our problem
I'll end that by saying it's called mental health, and the black community don't want to deal with it. Kelsey Nicole Nelson, how are you today? Sorry we had that.
No, I'm fantastic. I was enjoying the conversation. I'm like, that's what we do on radio, right? We have real conversations. We talk, and I think it's something that needs to be talked about, Chris.
Yeah.
About mental health, a big reason why it's a problem is because we don't talk about it. It's always kind of a back corner conversation or a shh conversation. So I think it is bringing it to the forefront. And so believe me, I was enjoying it. I'm excited to interject in. You have a lively show, so it seems like I joined on the right day, Chris.
yeah, you got me here today. All right, so I gotta ask. I mean, but Sha'Carri Richardson obviously was not the only one. I just kind of feel that, you know, folks were being a bit too judgmental of her, and I think that here, I think in Philly or maybe other places, it comes from a spot, because I'm one of those old men who go around and say, hey, you kids, get off my lawn, that kind of thing. You know, but my thing is that mental health problems, and my man Maurice from Southwest, you know, basically proved the point, because he was saying, right, it's not the tool. There's a mental health crisis that the country refuses to deal with, but our community really has. And I just want to get your thoughts on the whole Sha'Carri. I want to hear what you have to say on this issue, because I know you cover sports, and you like I say again, you know, I think you understand this probably a lot better than a lot of us do.
Yeah, well, thank you again for giving me the platform, Chris. And look, Sha'Carri Richardson, of course, is the biggest story that's out there right now, right? LSU track and field sprinter, really a phenom. And right, we love the Summer Olympics, and track and field is a part of that. And really now we've seen this year, I'd say, was really the year of the black woman in track and field. They have had the narrative. That's all we're really talking about, right? We're not even talking about the men's runners for this year's Olympics. It's really been all focused on females and women. And Sha'Carri Richardson, I think the reason she became a phenom is because she's unapologetically herself, right? And we see more black women doing that, Chris. I think it's about time, right? For so long, I feel like as black women, we've had to conform and kind of try to be these norms that society tells us to be. Well, look, enough is enough. Look, we've had our FloJos, and we all know the story about FloJo and how she captivated so many people, right? Just even off of the track field because of who she was, Jackie Joyner-Kersee. I mean, there's so many examples of it. And I think Sha'Carri Richardson now, I mean, she's unapologetically her, right? She says, I'm me, I'm human, I did make a mistake. And I think that was the biggest thing that she did, Chris, was be mature about it. She's so young. And the hardest thing, Chris, for many people to do is to say, look, I messed up, right? It is. It's just the hardest thing to do. And many times when people get caught, sometimes too, their first thing is to lie to try to get out of it. And I think she was going through a difficult time, as you said. And again, mental health is not talked about. If we're talking about black women, Chris, what are we always taught to be usually from a young age? It's to be strong. Right? It's to be a strong black woman. You're never supposed to show when anything's going wrong. I remember growing up, you know, it was hard. Like, I really can count the times I probably saw my parents, like, I never saw my dad cry, maybe just a couple times my mom cry, right? And that was usually related to a funeral or something like that. But other than that, you always have to kind of have things together, even when they're not together. And I think Sha'Carri Richards showed that she's human. And let's be honest, we're talking about weed. 18 states in D.C. have legalized weed. And I'm not saying that means that she should have done it. By no means. Of course, referring to your last caller, yes, she knew the rules. Many of us know the rules. Look, everyone's been to college. Everyone's been around weed. And if you live in a city, you're probably around marijuana and weed every day, right? We're just being honest and having a conversation. But I think for her, it hurt because she's killing it in the 100 meters. We finally have a chance to bring back that gold. Look, we're tired of getting beat by the Jamaicans and everyone else in track and field here in the United States. And we see her. We want to follow her. We love her bright hair, her story. And I think for all of a sudden this to kind of happen. And also, when you get to the top of the pedestal, Chris, let's be honest, not everyone's rooting for you. Not everyone's your friend. And once you get to the top, usually, unfortunately, the only way to go is where? And that's down. And I think when people saw this happen, they were like, see, you guys hopped on too quick. We knew she wasn't going to be this great, blah, 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 blah. And the thing is, she's gotten so much hostility, even when she's had our former First Lady, Michelle Obama, support her, Steph Curry. We see Patrick Mahomes speaking out on her behalf, the former Duchess, Meghan Markle. I mean, literally the top names she's been able to galvanize at such a young age. And so to me, it's an unfortunate situation. I hate that, you know, the 30-day ban did take place. But again, rules are rules, and I get that, but many of y'all saying that are the same people that weren't trying to wear your face mask everywhere you're supposed to wear your face mask.
Wow.
Protocol, right? And again, we're just being honest and having honest conversation. And as you said, if we never broke rules, Chris, me and you might not be on this radio show today, right? There were rules at one time where there wasn't supposed to be our faces or our voices on radio, right? Or we would be on we'd be segregated still. I mean, there's so many different things that have happened. And I think, you know, she accepted it with responsibility. She understood that. And I thought that was fair, right? She broke a rule. You can't break that rule because then every other athlete will be like, hey, well, what about us? You know, we've been following what we're supposed to do. And they worked their entire lives, Chris, to get to the Olympics. I mean, only so many people in the world can say they've been an Olympian, right? It's like that top honor that you can get. And we love the Olympics. They happen every 4 years. We galvanize around it because it's the best of the best in sport. And we get to just be proud of our country surrounding it. But, you know, I did hate to see that she was also left off the relay team. But I think this will be a learning curve for her. I would have loved to still see her get a chance on that relay team. They had the option to add her to one of those 2 extra spots that were on there. But they said, hey, look, we just don't think it's right. And the thing is, when you look at the upcoming Olympics, 4 years from now, she's going to be completely different, Chris. Think about where me and you were 4 years ago. I mean, you weren't married, Chris, right? You just got married. You were a different man back then, right?
There's an asterisk to that because I've been with the same girl for almost 20 years. So
there you go.
But Mary Chaz saying I don't
ring on it.
Yeah, see, I have a ring right there too. But from that standpoint, though, I look at the rules. Like I look at the situation. I'm looking at the story that I wrote in the Sun. Yeah. Caster Samaya and Christine and Boba from Namibia and Beatrice Masingli. And if I can vote by saying Masinlinji and whatnot, forgive me, the Namibian community, okay, for saying that. They were barred from producing too much testosterone, and they were told to take medicines that I probably would not trust on that situation. Plus the fact, a few years ago, I think it was back in 2017, the International Associations of Athletics Federations, or IAAF, basically conducted a study that said that elite women runners who had 3% of testosterone levels performed 3% better with women with the lowest levels. And that study was also published in the British Journal of Medicine. Now, ScienceDaily.com, which basically reported some of this, also said there were a group of researchers at the University of Colorado that challenged the IAAF study, and they said that the IAAF study was flawed and did not produce any evidence that said that higher testosterone in women created any competitive advantage.
Right.
And my thing at the end of the day is, can somebody get this right? I mean, the policies of all these, if you talk about the thing that kept Sha'Carri Richardson out, or even the one that kept Brianna McNeil out, it's almost like, wait a minute, it seems like circumstances seem to dictate, can anyone get this right? That's what I'm asking. Can anyone really, because if you don't have definitive proof, then, you can't ban these runners if you don't have, if other people are challenging the studies, then can they get it right ultimately?
Yeah, that's the big question. It's the $1 million question because, again, you're talking about top athletes now being excluded from race. We just talked about Sha'Carri Richardson. We might as well name her nickname, Sha'Carri That Girl Richardson, right? Because she is that girl in terms of track and field. But when we're looking at what these athletes are having to go through, we can just really look at how they're trying to protect the integrity of the game, Chris, because that's what it goes back to, right? They're trying to protect the integrity of the games. And honestly, when we look at sports as a whole, that's what it's all about. If you have no integrity in that sport, you're going to lose faith in people, and people are going to lose faith in your sport, and then you're ultimately going to lose fans, which ultimately impacts your bottom line, right? And that's kind of what it goes down to. For instance, we can go to football, right? You all like the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia, and the reason why the NFL constantly is going through these rule changes and why we keep asking what is a catch and what's not a catch, right, is because they're trying to protect the integrity of the game. They see people complaining about it. And when it comes to athletics, and I think now, again, you're looking at the testosterone, or they're looking if marijuana could somehow help Sha'Carri Richardson, when many people are like, look, weed wasn't going to help her. If anything, she might have just been hungry after the race. She ran so fast.
She would have won a Doritos eating contest.
That's what she was, right? because look, again, we've all been to college. You all see what happens when people take weed, right? They might be hungry, if anything, but it wasn't going to help her in the race. And the fact that she could probably still win the race, even with traces of that in her system, just speaks even more, I'd say, to her greatness. But then, right, you're looking at the testosterone level, something that people naturally can be born with, right? You can't pick your biological makeup, Chris, when you're born, right? We don't have any control of that. And it has been proven that some women are born with more testosterone, again, naturally. And should they be excluded then from being participating in something that they've worked so hard for, Chris? I'd say no. And again, if it's not been proven that it can impact the integrity of the game, I'd say you can't do it. And I'd say this is a larger question, though, Chris, than the Olympics. I think many states are going through this now, too, as we're looking at many states, unfortunately, trying to ban transgender athletes from participating in the sport of their choice, right? So it goes even longer, and some of them are trying to point to testosterone levels and things like that. And so I think, honestly, this conversation is going to get magnified on a bigger scale. But again, you hate to see top-tier athletes being excluded from sport because they keep trying to make the rule book bigger to protect the game, when in actuality, they're actually hurting the game because you're taking away top-tier talent that people want to see, right? We already aren't having spectators at the game. Now you're taking away our top athletes, Chris, that we wanted to watch. What more can the Olympics take from us, Chris? I mean, that's the question.
Well, I'm about to answer that question for you because the last controversy that we're dealing with is swimming.
Right.
Recently, the Soul Cap Company of Great Britain, who came up with caps because there was a British athlete who was the first Alice Dearing. Is the first black British swimmer to make the swim team.
Right.
And because black women have unique hair and everything, you need maybe a special. And here's what the Federation Internationale. I gotta remember my French. International de Natation, swimming, the Federation for International Competitions in Water Sports. I'll say that in English. My French is off today. But but the thing is, they're saying that, to their best knowledge, quote, that athletes competing at the international level never use or were required to use caps of such large size and configurations because these caps don't follow the natural form of the head. Which head? Not black heads and everything.
Right. What are you talking about? And I think
and see, that's the thing. And it's almost as if the ghost of Avery Brundage, who was the head of the International Olympic Committee, was a racist. Forced Jesse Owens out of the sport, and forced Smith and Carlos after the Black Power salute to get out of the whole thing.
Right.
And the thing is, some of these things are antiquated. More and more people of color are participating in the non-traditional sports, and we keep running across these barriers. What are your thoughts about that?
And I think you hit the nail on the head. It's these barriers that keep happening. We finally have a cap that's made for us for black hair, and black hair is uniquely different from every other hair. The Soul Cap was created, as you said, Chris, for our hairstyles, whether it's natural hair, dreadlocks, braids, weaves, whatever black women are rocking, because we're so versatile and we can do so many things. And when you look at the barriers to swimming, many times black women will tell you they didn't want to swim because what? Their hair. And so if there's a cap for it, which was finally created, and I'll tell you, I think I tried swimming once in life, and I couldn't get that cap on my head. I said, you know what, Mom and Dad, I'm going to try something else. And lo and behold, Chris, now when I go in the pool, I can only go in the 3-4 feet deep, and that's about it, Chris. I don't go any deeper than that. And you look at someone on the U.S. team like Simone Manuel and just her story, right, and all that she's doing. But you talked about Alice Dearing and what she's done, being an ambassador for the Black Women's Swimming Association, and just so much more. And, Chris, we're talking about a swim cap. Again, nothing that's going to give you any advancement in the sport, but something to protect your hair so you can be your best self and be your great self, which is why you're at the Olympics. And so it kind of takes away from, I'd say it takes away from that storyline. You said you talk about her being the first Black woman to represent Great Britain, right? And swimming in a sport that's not a sport that unfortunately has too few of Black women in it. And when you look at Great Britain as a whole, only 1% of registered swimmers in Great Britain identify as Black or mixed race. So you're talking about, she was one of that 1% that made it all the way to the greatest games in the world. And I think it's just unfortunate. Again, I asked the question, why to the Olympics? And like you said, they're trying to make it a one-size-fits-all when it should be a one-size-fits-one. my head shape and your head shape, Chris, even though we're both African Americans, completely different, right?
Well, at least you have hair. I do.
Well, look, you had it at a time, Chris. Yours just came down to your face. You still have it, right? But it's like you can't make it one size fits all because, again, we're not created the same or equal. And then when you look at the Olympic Games, it's supposed to be bringing us together when now there's so many things that instead, Chris, have been dividing us slowly but surely. And again, when it's a year that we waited for the Olympics, COVID-19 messed it up last year. We're finally excited to have the games back this year. But then now it's all these storylines. And again, we're talking about exclusion instead of inclusion. I think that's exactly what the Soul Cap story is. Again, a cap that was finally made for us, right? And it hasn't been out there. As any Black woman who's over the age of 25, we've been waiting for a cap like that to come. And you're gonna, I think this cap could honestly change the sport of swimming, because now I think Black girls are gonna feel empowered to get into the pool because they have something that was created for their hair. I tell you, Chris, try to put on a swim cap. Those things are super tight. And look, I'm not gonna get rid of the thickness of my hair to try to fit in that swim cap, Chris. No, that swim cap is gonna have to fit me. And that's what the Soul Cap was doing. And again, to ban something you have no merit on, their reasoning and rationale, I think it's just very hurtful for the overall Olympic Games. And again, many of us are now looking at the Olympics with many questions and thinking, is the Olympics really for us? Is it really meant to include all of us? Or is it something where they're still trying to hold it up to be that one kind of exterior that we're all supposed to be, which of course goes back to your white athlete, Chris. And that's not anything.
Yeah, because the Black member, Dawn Butler, was a Black member of the British House of Commons, said that, she called it discrimination in plain sight. And because of that backlash, now FINA is starting to reconsider the situation. So we hope that they would reconsider that decision. Now, like I said, 2016 we called it Black Girl Magic in that Olympics, because Black women all over the diaspora, from Africa to Jamaica. And like I say, even though there's a rivalry between Jamaicans and the United States, I don't mind rooting for the Jamaicans. But of course we like to win. So what do you hope to see? This is my final question, and thank you so much for being here today. But I gotta ask you,
pleasure.
What do you expect from this year's Olympics and whatnot? Will there be more Black Girl Magic? Simone Biles is back and all that.
Simone Biles is back. You talked about Naomi Osaka. We talked about, Allison Felix. And look at her story, right? A 3-time world champion, 9 Olympic medals. And now she's a mom, right? A mom. And this is her 5th Olympic Games, Chris. Does it get any better than that? Most people say you're like, participate in 2. Her 5th one, you have Aja Wilson looking at basketball. I talked about Simone Manuel for swimming. So why I say the Black Girl Magic theme is still continuing, Chris, into 2021 and hasn't slowed down. Crystal Dunn, right, and what she's doing with soccer in the Olympic Games. Naya Tapper, rugby hopeful. I think there's so many storylines, Chris. So honestly, the question should be, what am I not excited about when it comes to the Olympics?
Okay, all right.
There's so many, Chris, and you look at our Olympic teams, and you just see again so many Black women representing the best of our sport, representing our country on the highest level, and many of them have a real chance to bring home a medal, Chris. So I'm excited. Again, COVID-19 did so much to the world. I think the Olympics is beginning to bring us back together, and so I'm excited to see the U.S. continue to remain supreme, Chris. Thanks in part to these athletes that have just been giving their all. But it's so many. And I'll say the other thing I'm looking forward to is, again, Naomi Osaka's story continuing and saying it is okay to not be okay, but it does not mean that you're alone in this battle. And I think Naomi saw that she did have, even though there were many haters and criticizers out there, that she did have many supporters. Sakari Richardson, same thing, finding out she had many supporters, probably even though all the naysayers and haters were also out there. So I hope these Olympians also see that we will go to bat for them, we will fight for them, and that they truly do have a home here. So again, I'm excited, Chris. Lots of games to be played. So many sports will be represented. I think it's an exciting time, right? We get 2 weeks of great games, Paralympic Games coming after. So basically, you don't want to miss it. It's your one-stop shop.
Thank you. Hey, Kelsey, where can we? Because like I said, I've been trying to get to listen to your shows and all that. You're all over social media. Where can folks find you? Where can our people find you and all the things that you do?
Of course. Well, thanks again, Chris, so much for having me. Always a good time to join you, Chris. And everyone can find me on social media, The Real K Nelson, also on Facebook, Kelsey Nicole Nelson. Check out my website, kelseynicolenelson.com. And then, as Chris said, I have a weekly show that goes on twice a week. I do a live stream version every Thursday at 6 p.m. and every Saturday at 2 p.m., as well as audio versions of the show dropping every Wednesday at noon. My show is Listen In with KNN. You can find it on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, basically anywhere that you can be on social media, you can find the show. We have a lot of great athletes joining the show, talking about Olympians. Colin Jackson just joined me on a show, and you're talking about, again, overseas. He represented the UK, a former Olympic hurdler that reached the top of the top levels. I actually have a lot more Olympians coming on my show, Chris. So as we count down to the Olympics, I hope everyone tunes in. Again, just check it out. It's on Fox Sports Radio, 1340 AM and 96.9 FM. Thanks again so much, Chris Murray, for having me and for being a fantastic host.
Thank you very much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have got to go to break, and in the next half hour, I'm letting y'all come in, and y'all can come in and tell me what y'all think about everything. So we'll be back. You listen to 96.1 FM, 900 AM WURD. The Chris Murray Report will be right back.
The Sweet Treat Hut is the highest-rated juice bar in Philly, located on the corner of 50th and Thompson Streets, providing delicious, healthy vegan food, juices, and smoothies. Treat yourself to a cup of happiness. Call 215-877-1471.
Support small, Black, and Brown-owned businesses by joining the Diverse Procurement Collaborative, a community of business leaders committed to supplier diversity. Get engaged at chamberphl.com. AARP is working to protect Americans 50+ by making sure you have the latest information about the COVID-19 vaccines and the distribution plans in Pennsylvania. Just visit aarp.org/PA vaccine to learn who's eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine, when, where, and how to get it in Philadelphia and the rest of the Commonwealth, and what you might want to discuss with your doctor. That's aarp.org/PA vaccine.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent Black media.
Okay, we are back, but before I get started, I gotta ask you guys one basic question. Are you looking for a job? Well, WURD has got you covered. Now, we just launched a brand new job portal featuring jobs from some of Philadelphia's leading companies and arts organizations. If you go to the portal right now, you will see jobs from WURD Radio, the Kimmel Center, Her Foods, Always Best Care, and more. Apply for a job today. Go to our livelihood website at WURDworks.com. That's WURDworks.com and click jobs. So go ahead, ladies and gentlemen. If you're looking for a job, we got you. All right. So now, as we shift gears and whatnot. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, you all know the numbers to call: 215-634-8065, 1-866-361-0900. This is the part of the show we let you vent your spleen on a number of issues. We have Richard from North Philadelphia with us. Richard?
Yeah.
How you doing, man?
Hey, Chris. How you doing? All right. Listen, Chris, the NBA Finals, man. It seems like the Phoenix Suns got the Milwaukee Bucks number, man. The way I always thought that Milwaukee would have won one game. I'm glad to see that Giannis is playing, but it seems like Phoenix defense somehow got the rest of the Bucks team off guard, and that they can't really make any shots, Now I know that Chris Paul is saying they shoot those 3-pointers pretty good, and like that. So now, what is Milwaukee? What do you think Milwaukee gonna have to do, man, to win these next two games?
I think they're gonna have to defend the point guard a little bit better. I think they're gonna have to defend Chris Paul. I also think they gotta keep guys like like Devin Booker and Mikal Bridges. A lot of people. Mikal Bridges scored 27, I think, in game 2. It might be game 1, but and that's a guy the Sixers had. God knows what would have happened if he stayed in Philly. I'm still semi mad about that, but
Yeah.
But the thing about it, Milwaukee, see, here's the thing. Whenever there's been one remarkable pattern from Milwaukee in the playoffs is that whenever it looks like they're dead in the water, that team, they come home and they get up off the deck. Everybody thought that when they fell down 2-0 to the Brooklyn, I was going to say New Jersey, to the Brooklyn Nets, it was like, oh my God, the series was over. They got dominated in both of those games. I think they lost by about 40 or 50 points. I mean, they got really skunked in game 2 of that series. And they bounced back and won the series. Now, granted, the Nets had a couple of guys hurt, but still they bounced back. I mean, it looked like, Atlanta was going to, could have taken them out. I'm not going to count Milwaukee out of this series. They will find a way to win. I think there's some bad coaching. I think they've got to make some adjustments. Though, I'm not going to lie, part of me wants Chris Paul and the Phoenix Suns to win because I like Chris Paul. I followed him since he was at Wake Forest. And I like to see them win, but I think it's going to be a series. I don't think that the Suns are going to cakewalk them. I think Milwaukee comes back and makes the series. I still say the Suns are going to win the series, in my opinion. But I think that it's not going to be a cakewalk. I'm looking for it. To me, a series doesn't begin until you win on somebody's home court. And that's when the series begins. And I'm looking for Giannis and Brogdon and all those guys. I'm sorry, Brian Middleton and those guys to bounce back. And Brook Lopez. I really think they're going to bounce back when they get some home cooking.
Yeah. Now, one more thing. Danny Green, the 76ers. Now, Danny Green has gotten involved now into defending Ben Simmons and some of the stuff that he's been saying, like in the news about the fans, and everything like that. And as I've been listening to the radio, people around the country always have good things to say about Philadelphia sports fans or this and that, and like that. So what do you think about all this shit, what Danny Green now has been saying?
I think the worst thing you could do in this town is to get into a beef with the fans. I always appreciate an athlete's honesty. I do think that with Ben Simmons, that's kind of a third rail in this town, and I think that you're not going to win that battle, in this town. I mean, no matter how much you can be critical of the fans, and everybody can be criticized, but I don't think, and I think that, on one level, Sixers fans kind of felt about, especially and considering how Danny Green did not play defense on Trae Young. I mean, that's hard for him to say that coming off of that loss. And he has a right to say what he has to say, but, you're going to expect there's going to be some pushback from the fans because a lot of fans are pissed off that, this was a team that could, let's face it, on paper, I think they beat Milwaukee. I really do. I don't think Milwaukee is better than the Sixers. Are you kidding me? I really don't think so. But the thing is, the point guard didn't play up to the standard. And the point guard, people are upset. People, felt that, they got the wrong guy. And then you see Mikal Bridges, a guy that they drafted and traded away. He's because he's starting to come into his own. I think people, and considering how the Sixers got bounced out of the playoffs, I think people are kind of like, Danny Green, really? It's just like, and considering that you let Trae Young run everywhere, didn't run him off the three, you're supposed to be a defensive specialist. I mean, dude, you can say that about the fans. I understand it, but, dude, I think read the room. Read what happened. Read the room right now. That's all I can say for that with respect to Danny Green. So, got to move forward, though, man. As always, I appreciate your call.
Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, we got Clyde from South Philly.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing great, man. I'm doing really great today.
Hey, Chris, let me ask you a question. First, let me state this. It's amazing with our people that they chiming in on this controversy about the sister and the marijuana because nobody really knew who she was until the last, few months. And actually almost only 40% of our people even keep up with the Olympics and track and field. But anyway, let me ask you a question, Chris. If I go to the airport, even though I got a gun permit, am I allowed to get on a plane with a gun?
I mean, if you have a permit, I think you had to go through a whole lot of, a lot of hoops and stuff like that. I don't think you are.
Chris, can I go on a plane with a loaded gun? No, there are rules, right? There are rules. So, I mean, that's what I'm looking at. Rules are rules. I'm kind of with Maurice on this because the other thing is this here is that we had a number of athletes that was in the Olympics. Their parents died while they was competing and things of that nature. So, I mean, I understand the argument of the mental illness right now, especially during this time because, this outside of sports, this the violence we're seeing across the country. So I'm just looking at it from that standpoint. The other thing is this here, which is going to be interesting in the next couple of years in the Olympics, and it's all about money. So breakdance is getting ready to become a category in the Olympics. So you can't have breakdance without hip hop, right?
Yeah.
Right.
You can't.
So you can't. They go hand in hand. They go hand in hand. So it's going to be real interesting in the coming years because breakdance is worldwide, just like hip hop. You can't get around it. You know what I mean? So the Olympics, if we look at it, if we really look at the Olympics in the last, maybe 12 years, 20 years, they've been losing money. They've really been losing money. So now when you got all these countries that have adopted breakdance, and it's a lot of them, believe me, it's a ton of them. We talk about Korea, Japan, India, all these other countries. So you got to generate that revenue. And with that, people in the hip hop community is notorious for using marijuana. Just being honest. All of them, some of them. So how are you going to segue that stuff into these rules that you have? I'm just giving you a balance of all of it. You know what I mean, Chris? It's a balance of all of it. It's really going to be interesting when they interact breakdancing to the Olympics because it's a money thing. Believe me, that's an entire money thing, and the whole complexion of the Olympics is going to change because of that dynamic. Watch what I'm telling you, Chris. I see it coming. When I first heard about it 3 years ago, I said, wow, breakdance? Are you serious?
Yeah. Here's the thing with that, Clyde. With respect to, I'm going to get to your point where you said on marijuana. I mean, what bothers me, it's easy to say rules are rules. It's always easy to say that. But I think that there is also a complexity with that. And I don't know, I was reading Martin Luther King's letter from a Birmingham jail about just and unjust laws and things of that nature. And I think that if anything that Sha'Carri Richardson has done is, one, maybe we take a better look. And I would hope that the community would be more compassionate, because that was the thing that I think that bothers me about this whole thing. The person's mom died. Mental health is a thing that our community is often swept under the rug because in the guise of respectability politics, we always have to present a certain level because of racism, and I get that. But I think that the rule itself is unjust, because if it is a drug that is abused in society, then how many people were drinking Hennessy or drinking hard liquor, which is harder than marijuana or beer or whatever? Had Sha'Carri Richardson said, I'm just going to get drink some Patron or something like that to deal with a very traumatic situation, then it would be one thing, she'd still be on the team. But the hypocrisy of that rule is what I have an issue with. Okay, if you're going to leave alcohol off, marijuana has been scientifically proven. One, has been used for medicinal purposes as a painkiller and all this. Has nothing to do with competition. unless you're participating in the hot dog eating contest and whatnot, which is what I would probably use it for because, I like to eat. But the thing is that, if it's something that is casual use, it's not like cocaine or acid or anything like that. But, they got to change the rules. And if anything that Sha'Carri Richardson will do is to change the rule has to be changed. And as far as I'm concerned, we've got to pay attention to these issues. And I think, and it's not a morality play, because there are a lot of people, and probably in this town, especially us old heads, are trying to say that, she blew this money. Screw money. And if you're dealing with a traumatic situation, money, and that's the problem. We're caught up, we got to make money, or she's going to miss money and all this other stuff. And I think that somehow in our community, and given how our young rappers, that's all they talk about is money, 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 get with some girl, materialism and all this other stuff. And I think in some respects, we've negatively internalized some of the values of capitalism and all the bad things that we're willing to forego our soul for the sake of money and whatnot. Because if you have a mental health issue, I think that sometimes things happen. Things happen to human beings. And I don't think she was thinking about money at that. Money did not trump the death of her mother. Okay? Money does not trump the depth of pain. As much as we in our community have always tried to be strong and deal with these things, a lot of times, we don't really deal. If the body is sick, we give it medicine. But what do we give the mind? How do we take care of the mind? Screw respectability politics. Screw all those things. In that moment, you don't know how people react. We don't really know how we would react. If something happened to my wife, I don't know how I'm going to react in that situation. I'll probably be in the deepest form of grief. Okay, so from that standpoint, I think that you can say rules are rules, but can we have a little bit of empathy and a little bit of compassion? Can we drop the respectability politics for once in our community? Can we learn that the things that are happening in our community with respect to people shooting each other is a result of the mental health issues that poverty and not having a job is called? Can we do that 1 minute? Can we get away from telling people to pull up their pants and just say what's wrong? That's what we. I don't prove people wearing pants hanging off their butt. Don't get it twisted. But I'm just saying that there is a larger issue that sometimes we ignore. We're so caught up in money and prestige and whatnot, but we didn't think about, hey, how is that person doing? And that's the thing that angers me and whatnot. Okay, I gotta take a break. I gotta take a break. But Clyde, thank you for the call. I appreciate your insight as always. Definitely do. So you're listening to 96.1 FM, 900 AM WURD. The Chris Murray Report will be right back.
Join WURD for our second annual Neighborhood Love Tour. This year we celebrate West Oak Lane, Mantua, North, West, and South Philly. I'm Tiffany Bacon. I'm going to broadcast live from a different neighborhood each Friday from 10 a.m. until 12 noon. The tour kicks off on Friday, July 16th at the Cobbs Creek Recreation Center, 2800 Cobbs Creek Parkway. Enjoy live performances, meet special guests, and stand with WURD. Be a part of the movement to amplify the voice of the Black community. Show your support and join or renew your 4WURD membership on site. That's the Neighborhood Love Tour beginning Friday, July 16th at the Cobbs Creek Recreation Center from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. WURD, showing love this summer.
The WURD Radio Neighborhood Love Tour is sponsored by Comcast and supported by Pico, Keystone First, and Ready, Set, Philly.
Hi, this is Samantha from Leo's Apparel on Germantown and Lehigh Ave. Open from 9:30 to 5:30, Monday through Saturday. We have the hottest selection of boys' dress suits and casual sportswear for boys, sizes 2T to 20. Men, let me tell you, we got in a large shipment of straws from Stetson. We have new linen and dress suits. Biggest selection of Stacey Adams shoes. Get an extra WURD 10% discount.
The WURD Radio newsletter, keeping you informed, engaged, and connected. Sign up by visiting WURDradio.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and type your email address under Connect with Us. You'll receive the latest information on WURD Radio, messages from our president and CEO, Sarah Lomax Reese, exclusive articles and multimedia content, and resources. Stay informed with the WURD Radio newsletter. You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Okay, we are back. Let me see. Let me check my call list and everything, and I can find my call list. Okay. We have Brother Mike from the great state of Ohio. Brother Mike, go ahead.
Oh, I think we actually lost Brother Mike. We just had Walter Davis.
Walter. So, Walter, how are you, dude? What's happening?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, bro.
Good. Chris, you know, that sister was banned from the Olympics, and we don't have to dance around it because of who she is. And bottom line, we don't have to have a intellectual conversation about that. And it's a shame. Mm-hmm. She's somebody's daughter. She's our young sister. And it's just very, very hopeful. And it has nothing to do with quote-unquote rules, because the country, this world, this country, America, that makes rules breaks every rule they make. So when I hear this lunacy of people calling up and saying the rules, or when I hear in the media the rules, it's nonsense. It's a real, real shame. And I support that sister 100%. Now, I can tell you what people aren't talking about. They're not talking about that transgender weightlifter that's allowed to compete. That's, as far as I'm concerned, is an unfair advantage. It's not taking a shot at anybody who chooses that lifestyle. But at the end of the day, how are you going to tell those other sisters that they have too much testosterone and they were born who they are? It's the bottom line. They were born who they are. So the media continues this frenzy and this assault on our young sisters, but they're very, very quiet around that topic. So I just wanted to point that out. Thank you for having the woman on that you had. She was very, very good. I appreciate her commentary. Have a great day.
Thank you very much. And I guess that was Mike from Ohio, because I know Walter. Is Walter still with us?
No,
Walter,
I think he's gone still.
Okay, sorry about that, Walter. That's my man. But no, what I was saying is the fact that, you know, here's where all this stuff comes together. The drug testing regimes, or the testing of athletes, I mean, especially with the thing with the women who produce natural testosterone. My question is, it's inconsistent. You know, it depends on whose research you believe, and there is controversy over whether or not that study. And I found a story in ScienceDaily.com, and you know, they were basically saying that there's been all these tests that prove otherwise. So who's right? And so the IAAF and other organizations, people who do, like even the World Anti-Doping Agency, I think it just should just stay strictly to competition when it comes to that. What people do in their off time when it comes to alcohol or weed or anything like that, what you do is what you do. But I do think that, you know, in the final analysis, they have to because it's rules are the rules, but sometimes your rules can be unjust. Rules are unjust. You know, at one time it was against the law for black people to sit in front of a bus in Montgomery, Alabama, okay, and in parts of the South, okay. Yeah, but rules was the rules, right? You know, rules are the rules. So, and sometimes rules need to be changed, even if they are on the books. And sometimes rules are not logical, okay? BG from Germantown, what do you got to say? What say you?
Hey, how you doing, Chris?
I'm doing great, man.
I want to say this. When the rule changes, then you do it. I have to go with Maurice, even though he called me a nut a couple weeks ago because I said Kevin Durant choked at the end. He's 100% right. If a rule's in place, it's just like a lot of white folks feel like, oh, Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. No, he should not be in the Hall of Fame because there was a rule in place and he gambled, so therefore his butt needs to be not in the Hall of Fame because it hurts the integrity of something that people think people are gambling on sports. I have a lot of compassion for the young lady, a lot of empathy for her. God bless her. You know, I think her career will still be okay. But, you know, if that rule was in place and you know how strict the drug testing is, it was not an intelligent thing to do. And they're not going to, and you got to realize, we got to teach our kids. Too many enablers in the black community. That's why we have crime infested and so many black males going to prison. We got to teach our kids that you got to follow rules because you're not going to get away with the stuff that white folks get away with. You know, you're not going to have compassion and empathy when you go in these courtrooms and these judges get in front of you. They're not going to have compassion and empathy for you as a black American. So you really have to follow the rules and you really got to be on point because you're not going to get that privilege that white folks get.
Right. But at the same time, we are not impervious to mental health issues either. And that's the other side of that. On the surface, yeah, you raise your children to follow rules and to, and to understand, yes, there's a double standard against you. But I think there are situations in this case, she was experiencing grief. Sometimes you're not thinking when you do things. Let's face it, we all have those moments. I have, I can tell you from my own experience, I have, those experiences when something happens and something just depresses you or psychologically hurts you to the point to where, everybody talks about that. And so what I don't get, yeah, okay, she messed up on the rule, but to me, sometimes she did nothing wrong morally. Let me say that. There was nothing morally she did wrong, in my opinion, and how I look at it. The way people have attacked this young woman is to say that it's almost like some type of moralistic thing, and it's not. People have human weakness, and you talk about what's happening in the hood and everything, people shooting each other up. You can say, yes, they were enabling young men on one level, but there's a reason. People kill each other because of cycles of abuse that go on in our community. There's a lot of the drug situation, which is also mental health. It's not a character flaw. And it's not necessarily a character flaw. These are the results of poverty. These are the results of, families being separated and all these things that are happening. And it's a funny thing. The drug problem became a mental health problem when it was white people over, abusing opioids. Okay. So all of a sudden it's a mental health crisis. With black people, it's always a problem with character or morality. That's where I get upset. That's the line. It's not about character or morality. She doesn't have Sha'Carri Richardson didn't have bad character for smoking weed because I don't know her mom died. That's not bad character. That's not a character flaw or moral flaw. In that moment when you're feeling grief, you're not thinking about maybe the millions of dollars you might lose. Sometimes you're just thinking about that grief hits you at that moment. People don't care. It's a funny thing. Richard Pryor set himself on fire. He wasn't thinking about, the millions of dollars he already made or the gigs that he already planned. He was feeling something, within himself at that moment and whatnot from constantly getting high. And he was getting high for reasons, not because he was a bad person. Maybe there was some unresolved pain that guy that he didn't deal with. And, you can say someone, I can name a lot of people in the media profession who had issues with that. And I'm not going to do that because it's nobody's business, anybody's business. But people process pain in their life in a different way, in different ways than whatnot. Some people get depressed to the point where they can't get out of bed. Okay, they can't go to work. And so that's one thing. We have Woody from Winfield on the line. Thank you for the call, BG. Woody from Winfield.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, brother.
Okay. Yeah, I was just agreeing with you because there is a lot of mental issues as it relates to emotion. And I always go back to the 400 years of chattel slavery and the fact that there's certain doctors that have discovered things like epigenetics that passes down through the blood. And whenever you have a lot of pressure and trauma, that can follow you for centuries, you see? And with people who have emotional issues, and we're very emotional people because we're the melanized people, and our rhythm, whenever it's thrown off, it can cause other issues. Why we don't like to deal with this issue of mental health is a question to me. This is one of the reasons I enjoy my job in, cutting hair. I call it barbershop talk, working on the head and in the head, because people share with you their past, and these things just don't go away. Things can affect people in ways different than you would ever understand if you get a chance to listen to some of the people and some of the effects that they have as it relates to their mental areas of their thoughts and in their minds. We have to be more sensitive. Now, my question to you, Chris, could this be considered a medicine if she had medical issues, medical marijuana?
Yeah. If she had used, if there was medical marijuana, if she had used that, I mean, that was an issue. But the thing about it, first of all, weed, like alcohol, weed was legal in Oregon. And, and I think there are medicinal uses to marijuana because, they help you deal with pain and all that. And it's a funny thing. The NFL and all the other sports leagues stop viewing it as some type of, moral infraction. And so from that standpoint, lots of guys take drinks and all this other stuff. But I do think at the end of the day, maybe Sha'Carri Richardson becomes a catalyst for them so all the world anti-doping agencies to just remove marijuana from that list of drugs. That's all they have to do and all that. Change the rule because the rule is just unjust. And so so that's about it. So, Woody, I'm coming to your shop at some point this summer. I'm coming, even if it's just to get my bald head, trimmed and everything and all that. But I gotta thank you for the call because we are out of time, unfortunately. I love to talk about this with you further, but thank you for the call. Ladies and gentlemen, we are done. Man, this went by fast today. Thanks for everybody for calling in. Thanks to A. Sherrod Blackley, Jack McCaffrey, and Kelsey Nicole Nelson for being here with us today. Thank you for being here with us today. Support black media, support black sports talk radio, support black media, support this station, support the Tribune, Scoop USA, the Sunday Sun, support everybody doing black media. You all have a great weekend. Have a nice day.